What's going on, kiddos? It's time for more discussion of some more BattleTech playtest rules that people are supposed to be taking a look at now. And these rules have to do with movement. I'm going to actually make a couple of videos about these, and I wanted to start out positive. So this will be my video about the new rules that I appreciate and that I think are probably some beneficial changes. So one proposal that I think is a very nice potential change to the rules is the changes to water movement. Okay, so it used to be that water was very close to being impassable for mechs. You'd have to make a pilot roll every turn that you move in it, and the movement penalties were really severe. And this proposed rule reduces those penalties. They're still significant, especially because normally you have to go down a level in order to enter water. So you're going to pay like 3 movement points for your first step into water, and then 2 movement points for every hex after, until you have to spend 3 more to get out. So it's still substantial cost to your movement to make your way through water, but it's not so ridiculous as it was before. Now, I mean, realism-wise, maybe the old rule was kind of a more accurate portrayal of what it would be for giant robots to be kind of trying to walk through solid water. But whatever, I have to say, I think that this new rule is just beneficial because there's some really nice water maps, and they haven't really been very playable in the past because water is just so hard to go through. You just kind of treat it like impassable terrain, right? It's just treated as this kind of solid block. Don't go there. It's nice to at least have the option to go in the water, especially because sometimes there are things about going in the water, like the heat benefits at lower tech levels, that are really cool and that it's nice to kind of be able to take some advantage of. Another rule that I think is going to be a beneficial change, I mean, I know it's going to be a beneficial change because I've been playing with it for a long time now, is the backward level change rule, where you can do a PSR to step back onto lower terrain. You know, a lot of players play with this rule. In a lot of tournaments, this rule is allowed, and it works great. And it's really frustrating, honestly, to be stuck on a higher level, unable to back down. So the times when I don't play with this rule, I actually find it very frustrating. So to me, this is just a great rule that players have been using for a long time as a common optional rule. And yeah, let's make it just a straight standard rule because it's that good. It really has good effects on the game. And honestly, it kind of sucks to play without this rule. I'm going to talk in a later video about the immobility rules because I kind of have my complaints here. But yeah, like I said, I'm staying positive in this video. So we'll go on to the next rule that I have positive feelings about. Okay, so the penalty to your piloting skill from a damaged gyro is going from +3 to +2. All right. Now this rule, I think, it's just like, the thing is that getting a gyro hit early in the game, or really at almost any point in the game, is so bad for most mechs, unless your piloting skill is insane. It's just kind of crushing. So reducing that kind of crushing, terrible outcome of a gyro hit, I think it'll make the game more fun. You'll be more able to kind of move around and play with mechs even if they've been seriously damaged, which, yeah, I think that just adds to the fun of BattleTech. I'm in favor of it. Along similar lines, they're making it easier to move with a damaged foot actuator. I don't have a problem with this. I'm not sure I think it's necessarily better or worse than the existing rule. The existing rule, it kind of maybe makes a little bit more sense in a simulation point of view because, yeah, I mean, you get your foot, maybe not destroyed, but kind of damaged in a serious way. It makes sense that the mech would fall down. But it's fine. It doesn't strike me as a rule that is obviously bad. Caveat: I haven't played with any of these playtest rules yet. This is just my kind of theory crafting about it. But to me, this rule doesn't look too bad. I guess the one thing to say in criticism of this idea is it makes the leg crit rules harder to remember because, it's a lot easier to remember the way that it has been, where all of the leg crits have the same effect except for the hip crit, whereas now the foot crit is different. And I mean, I think that a thing that is going to be hard too is that experienced players who've been playing with the existing rules for a long time are going to forget this rule a lot. And I mean, there's a lot of experienced players, right? BattleTech for the foreseeable future is always going to be a game where a lot of the players have been doing it for a long time. So yeah, I mean, I am ambivalent, right? The purpose of these mobility changes is to make it so that damaged mechs can still move around the board more, and it's less frustrating to have a mech with kind of mobility related damage. And I totally get that. I also feel like there are some factors that count in the opposite direction. And to me, anything you can do to make BattleTech's rules easier to remember is good. So making them harder to remember, I said this would be a positive video, but I am ambivalent, I guess, about this foot thing. So another rule they're thinking about adding is to make quad mechs more mobile after they lose legs. I think this is great. I mean, quad mechs, they get a bad rap in a lot of ways, and it is really difficult to use them well because of the lack of torso twist. So anything that kind of makes them a bit better, I think is great. I mean, one of the things that many voices pointed out when he was talking about this rule and its effects is just part of the problem with quad mechs is that the canon quad mechs are mostly pretty badly designed, and there's not a lot of optimized quad designs available. So, if they were to correct that, then you wouldn't exactly need rules like this to power up the quad mechs. But the thing is that they're not going to just design a bunch of better quad mechs. So with that in mind, I think that this rule is a good idea. Now, the final playtest rule that gives me good vibes is this rule about piloting skill rolls to stand up. One of the things that has always been the most frustrating about BattleTech is how difficult it is to stand up and how devastating it is to try to keep standing up and then fall over, take more damage, fall over again, and take more damage. It's really no fun. And it also kind of, honestly, it doesn't super feel realistic in the sense that it makes it really bad, for example, for a lot of mechs, unless they have really great piloting skill, to go prone on purpose, which is a move that I think tactically can be really interesting. So I do feel positively about this rule. Let me say something overarching about these rules, which is maybe, again, another source of ambivalence. If these rules are all adopted, then piloting skill is going to become a notch or two less important in BattleTech, and it's going to be less good to skill up your pilots. I don't know, and I don't think that the amount of playtesting that people are going to do is exactly going to be able to answer this question. I don't know whether that means it'll get us into a situation where everybody just goes with piloting skill 5, because it is very common for experienced players to at least skill up to piloting skill 4 with most mechs that are going to be, especially in a lot of hand-to-hand combat. So maybe this is something that I should be talking about in my negatives video, and maybe I'll talk about it more in that video. But a thing that concerns me is it's already not very good if you're playing for battle value to skill up your mech warriors beyond a certain level, right? Skilling up to pilot skill 4 is usually pretty good. Skilling up your gunnery skill is often a waste of time, unless you're talking about a kind of long-range sniper mech or something like that. So I guess a thing that has long been a bit disappointing to me about the game is how suboptimal it is to play in a pickup game with highly skilled warriors. And it concerns me a little bit that these rules are moving us even further in the direction of better skills for mech warriors are not so great. Okay, I'll talk more about this idea later, but it does give me some pause. And finally, I wanted to just throw out I'm not going to do another video kind of reevaluating my thinking about the survivability rules, but I am going to just throw out a shout out to my BattleTech YouTuber homie Many Voices, who has a video that criticizes a number of the positions that I took in my video about the survivability rules. And in particular, he criticizes the new side arc rules. And I think his criticisms are very legitimate. You know, Brad, or Deviant ID, who's one of the kind of very long established and very skilled players, has also made similar criticisms of that rule. And it has kind of made me stop and take notice a little bit. So just as a kind of update about my views, that side arc rule is one where I now feel pretty concerned about it, actually. I am starting to think that that rule will lead to a situation where, I like the fact that it promotes a kind of mobile combat in BattleTech that involves more maneuvering around to flank. I'm worried that it will create a situation where there's only one good way to play, and that way is pretty much always to go around and flank to the side and focus kind of monomaniacally on that one kind of move. So you can watch Many Voices video for more details about that. I will pin a link to it in the comments. Honestly, I'm not sure what to think about that at the end of the day. It just goes to show that these kind of things are very complex, and ultimately, you know, a lot of playtesting is all we can do. So I hope that folks are sending in their comments on their playtest games to Catalyst. You know, personally, I haven't had the chance to playtest very much because I haven't had the opportunity for very many in-person games in the last couple months. But I hope that you folks are able to get a bunch of in-person games in and send your thoughts to the company. I think they will take them into account. Alrighty, have a great one, and you know, my sincere hope is that I'll get back on a more regular video posting schedule. So fingers crossed for that, and great to reconnect with you guys.